The story begins with a girl from a small, simple village in southern India, a quiet place where life moves slowly, where everyone knows each other, loves one another, and barely knows anything beyond the borders of their little world. But this girl was different. Since she was a child, she carried a dream deep in her heart to travel to South Korea. She didn't even fully understand why at first. It started with something simple, a picture she hung on her wall. And at the same time, somewhere far away, young men in Korea were preparing, moving, traveling, all for reasons that somehow seemed connected to her. So what exactly was the link between them? To understand that, we need to go back a few years. Our heroine, Shinba, was once just an ordinary little girl. One day, her school organized a play about historical figures. Some students played famous leaders, others took roles like Mother Teresa, and Shinba was chosen to play Queen Shinba Lam. At that time, she didn't know much about this queen, but as she learned more, she discovered something that changed her life forever. The queen had once traveled from her village all the way to Korea, spreading her culture there, and even today, Koreans still use some of the words connected to her legacy. That role changed everything. For the first time, Shinba felt special. Everyone began treating her like a queen, even calling her by that name. And when she saw the pride in her father's eyes, it touched her deeply. She fell in love with that character, and through it, she fell in love with Korea itself. From that moment on, her obsession began. She started with the smallest things, learning how to eat with chopsticks, how to cook ramen like they do in Korea. Then she moved on to learning the language. Her simple neighbors thought she was just studying English, but in reality, she was building a bridge to her dream. Later, music became part of her journey too, but truth be told, it wasn't just Korea that she loved. There was someone else. His name was Mani, her classmate. He loved her quietly, and she trusted him enough to share her dream again and again. She would talk endlessly about traveling to Korea, and one day jokingly, Mani told her, "Well, it's simple. Go to the train station, buy a ticket to Korea, and that's it. You'll arrive." Of course, she actually went and tried, only to realize how foolish that idea was. Her father later laughed and scolded her gently. "What is this nonsense? Since when do people travel to Korea by train?" After that, he asked her to stay with him and help at his restaurant, and she did. Deep down, she knew her father hoped that one day she would take over the place, grow it, and continue his legacy. But her heart was somewhere else. Korea was still her only dream. Because of that, she would often hear her parents arguing, her mother angry that she still hadn't let go of this unrealistic dream. But her father was softer. He believed it was just a phase, that she would eventually grow tired and forget it. But she didn't. She grew up, and her dream only grew stronger. Eventually, she went to the bank, trying to get a card so she could finally travel, but she was rejected. The manager simply didn't trust her. What guarantee did he have that she would return the money? What if she just ran away to Korea and disappeared? Still, after her persistence, he suggested something else. "If you really want this, apply for a scholarship in Korea." And that changed everything. Soon after, officials actually came to her village asking about her home, her life. When her mother found out, she became furious. Not only had her daughter not forgotten the dream, she was secretly chasing it behind their backs. Her father was upset too, but kinder. He went to her and said, "Next time you want something, just tell me first." He was willing to support her, but he also had his own plan. He wanted her to get married, to settle down, and eventually take over the restaurant. Confused and emotional, she went to the person she loved, Mani. She found him at the bar where he worked. She called him again and again before he finally answered. But he wasn't the same anymore. Life had been hard on him. He was drowning in debt. When she asked him when he would speak to her father about their future, he hesitated. "I can't right now," he said. "I'm a failure. Your father will never accept me, and I'm already struggling with debts my own father left behind." Despite everything, she forgave him. Just a few sweet words from him were enough to calm her heart. Then came the village festival. During the celebration, her father noticed how close they had become. So he approached Mani directly and said, "My son, all your friends have married and settled down. What about you? Aren't you planning the same?" Mani looked at him calmly and replied, "I know what's best for me." When her father realized that his daughter was in love with a boy who carried no real responsibility, he was deeply shocked. From that moment, he made a firm decision. Right in front of her, he announced that they would start looking for a husband for her, and he didn't waste any time. The very next day, they brought a suitor to meet her. Of course, she refused immediately, but her parents insisted that she at least sit down and meet him. Surprisingly, the young man was decent, polite, well-mannered, with a stable job and a good salary. He even listened carefully when her parents told him about her love for Korea and her dream of traveling there. Then he said something unexpected. He promised that if they got married, they could even spend their honeymoon in Korea, and even more. He admitted that he knew she was already in love with someone else, and he didn't mind. All he asked was for her to accept him, but still, she refused. He then promised her quietly that he would try to stop this marriage, yet, behind her back, he betrayed her trust. He told her parents he agreed to the marriage, and preparations began immediately. Fear took over her heart. She sent countless messages to Mani, begging him to come and save her. But when he finally showed up, he was irritated, overwhelmed by her constant pressure. He kept telling her to stop pushing him and give him more time, that he would be ready eventually. Desperate, she held his hand, pleading with him, and at that exact moment, her father saw them. Furious, he rushed toward Mani, hit him, and warned him to stay away from his daughter, to stop playing with her feelings. Then he turned to his daughter, asking her to come with him. But when he saw her still clinging to Mani, something inside him broke. "So, you've chosen him?" he said. And without another word, he walked away. She collapsed in tears. Her father had misunderstood her, but the damage was already done. Not long after, she made her decision. She ran away with Mani. They went to a friend's house and stayed there, hiding from everyone. Mani promised her that he would fix everything, that he would get money, take a loan from the bank, arrange their visas to Korea, and that they would travel together, work there, and start a new life. For the first time, she felt happiness. She was finally going to achieve her dream, but at the same time, her heart ached. She had left her family behind, especially her father, who was now hurt and disappointed in her. Soon, Mani returned with good news. He had arranged the visas and tickets, but on the day of travel, he was late, very late. So she went to the airport alone. She called him on the way, and he told her to go ahead and board the plane, that he was already on his way in a taxi and would meet her there. As she waited, nervous and anxious, she called her mother to reassure her and told her that she was leaving for Korea. But instead of comfort, her mother's voice came back harsh and angry. "So you're really leaving, using your father's money, without even meeting him one last time?" She froze. "My father's money? What do you mean?" she asked. And then the truth was revealed. Her father had come to see her. He had tried to meet her, but Mani refused, telling him that she didn't want to see him. Despite that, her father didn't leave empty-handed. He gave Mani money he had borrowed from the bank, and told him to give it to his daughter so she could fulfill her dream and travel. At that moment, her heart shattered. Even after everything, her father still supported her. But Mani? She suddenly felt like he had abandoned her. She tried calling him again and again, but he never answered. The truth was worse than she imagined. Mani had reached the airport, but not to travel with her. He hadn't even booked a ticket to Seoul. Instead, he had booked a ticket to Mumbai, staying behind in India. Tears streamed down her face as she realized the betrayal. She boarded the plane alone. When she finally arrived and stepped out of the airport in Korea, she was completely broken. Her dreams had come true, but at the cost of everything she loved. As she stood there, lost and overwhelmed, a stranger gently handed her a piece of paper. On it was a simple message, a reminder that this wasn't the end, that she could still begin again. That small gesture gave her a spark of hope. She took a taxi to the hotel she had booked, but as soon as she arrived, she received a message from Mani, a video. In it, he shamelessly told her that he had done nothing wrong, that because of his actions, she had finally reached the country she had always dreamed of. Her anger burned. She was heartbroken, humiliated. The next day, she wandered through the streets of Korea, still drowning in sadness. Trying to escape her thoughts, she entered a small shop and sat down with a drink, hoping to forget, even for a moment. That's when she saw it. Outside the shop, a man was violently arguing with a girl, even hitting her. Already wounded by betrayal, her anger toward men exploded. Without hesitation, she rushed out, slapped him hard, and pulled the girl away to safety. She scolded her, calling her foolish. But deep down, she was speaking to herself, giving advice she wished she had followed before being abandoned. Later, a family friend, her father's close companion, called her. He told her that they now knew everything that had happened and asked her to come back home, but she refused. "I won't come back broken," she said. "This is my dream country, and I'm staying." She didn't even get to finish her sentence. Suddenly, the police arrested her. She was taken into custody for assault, for hitting the man, who turned out to be the girl's boyfriend. But fate had one more twist. A photographer had been nearby, and he had accidentally recorded the entire incident, capturing the truth. When the video was shown, it proved that she had acted in self-defense, trying to protect the girl, and just like that, she was finally released. At the police station, she defended herself boldly. She told the officer that she hadn't done anything wrong. "In my country," she said, "if a man treats a woman like that, he deserves worse than a slap." With that, she walked away, proud, unshaken. Not long after, she met the same young man who had helped prove her innocence. When he asked her what had brought her all the way to Korea, she answered confidently, trying to sound stronger than she felt. "I came here to work at a luxury hotel." She told him the name of the place. He couldn't help but laugh. "All right, good luck," he said with a smile. She thanked him and went on her way. But after a few steps, she noticed something unsettling. He was walking behind her. Her heart raced. "Why are you following me?" she asked nervously. He blinked, confused, then pointed ahead. "This is the road to my mother's house." Awkward silence followed. Before he added casually that he had already paid for her drink the night before and wasn't expecting the money back. Then he left. The next morning, she got ready for work, full of hope. She boarded a bus and headed to the hotel she had mentioned. But when she arrived, something felt off. The place didn't look luxurious at all, nothing like she had imagined. Confused and embarrassed, she quickly turned to leave, and there he was again, the same young man. He smiled and admitted, "The moment you told me the name yesterday, I knew you'd been tricked. But I didn't say anything. You wouldn't have believed me anyway." Frustrated, she told him to stop making fun of her. She truly needed a job. So she asked him what he did for a living. He explained that he was a photographer. He filmed food, restaurants, and places like that. He even had a YouTube channel with about 3,000 subscribers. She sighed. "I need a real job," she said. "My relatives back home keep asking what I'm doing with my life." Understanding her situation, he decided to help. He took her to a job board and began explaining each listing to her. She carefully noted down the ones she could apply for. Then, realizing her biggest challenge, he gave her a small device, a real-time translator, to help her communicate, since her Korean wasn't very strong. The next day, her real journey began. She went from place to place, searching for work, but nothing worked out. Some jobs rejected her, others didn't suit her. And in some places, she simply didn't feel comfortable. Exhausted and overwhelmed, she sat by a river and began to cry. A nearby musician noticed her sadness and started playing a gentle melody, one that touched her deeply. For the first time in days, she smiled. The following day, her new friend returned with good news. "I found you a job," he said. He took her on his bicycle and introduced her to a man who was looking for someone to take care of his elderly mother, to clean the house, look after her, and keep her company. The old woman couldn't move at all, so she needed constant care. With no better options, she agreed. The man warned his mother, "I hired someone new. She doesn't speak Korean very well, and you've already scared away all the girls before her. Please, try to be patient this time." He and his wife explained everything to her, how the job worked, what she needed to do, and that they usually returned home late from work. His wife, a bit strict, told her to make sure everything was cleaned properly. She nodded, but didn't pay much attention to the attitude. As soon as they left, she started working sincerely. She took care of the elderly woman with kindness, feeding her, cleaning, making sure she was comfortable. Everything went smoothly, until one day she heard a strange noise coming from the woman's room. When she went to check, she found something had fallen. Part of the decoration had shifted. It didn't make sense. How could this fall? She wondered. But when the son and his wife returned, she didn't want to worry them, so she stayed silent. The next day, she tried to forget about it. But then, she heard another noise. This time, she hesitated before opening the door. Instead, she bent down and looked under it. Someone was moving inside. Her heart stopped. Slowly, she looked through the keyhole and saw an eye staring back at her. Fear consumed her. That night, she couldn't sleep. Nightmares haunted her, each one worse than the last. Even the noisy neighbors outside started to irritate her. At one point, she went out and shouted at them to quiet down, startling them into silence. The next day at work, it happened again. Another noise. She approached the room, trembling. From under the door, she could see movement again. This time, she opened the door suddenly, and what she saw shocked her to the core. The elderly woman, the same one who was supposed to be completely immobile, was standing. Not just standing. Then she pushed her and started threatening her. She couldn't understand a word. Quickly, she pulled out the translation device, and the truth was revealed. The old woman smirked. "You're smart," she said. "You figured it out in just 3 days. The others took longer." Then her voice turned cold. "Tell anyone, and I'll accuse you of theft. I'll say you stole my son's watch." Terrified, she froze. The old woman leaned closer. "Now, come with me tomorrow." The next day, everything changed. The old woman secretly took her out, riding a scooter she had been hiding from her son. They went shopping, bought clothes, laughed, and enjoyed the outside world together. Then they went to a sauna. Later, the old woman introduced her to a friend, and the three of them began spending time together, going out and enjoying life. For a moment, things felt normal again. But deep inside, she missed her father more than ever. Unable to hold it in, she finally called a neighbor back home, just to check on him. As usual, when her father's friend told her to come back home, she refused. "Not yet," she said. "I'll come back after I earn money and repay everything." Over time, she grew closer to the elderly woman. One day, she finally opened her heart. She told her everything about her life, her struggles with her father, and even about Mani, how trusting him had nearly destroyed her. Then curiosity took over. "Why are you hiding the truth from your son?" she asked. "Why don't you trust him?" The old woman smiled faintly. "It's not about trust," she said. And then she began her story. Years ago, she and her husband owned a restaurant, a very successful one. Their children were always around them, and life was full of warmth and happiness. But as the children grew up and got married, they decided to live on their own. Not long after that, her husband passed away. Everything changed. Her children started bringing their own kids, her grandchildren, and left them with her to raise. At first, she didn't mind. It's my role as a grandmother, she thought. But slowly, she realized something painful. She was living for everyone else, fulfilling everyone's needs while forgetting herself. So she made a decision. She pretended to be weak, helpless, someone who couldn't be relied on, and it worked. Her children and grandchildren became independent, but in return, she became the one who depended on them. And even then, she still wasn't happy. Hearing this story deeply moved her, but one detail stood out more than anything: the restaurant. "I used to work in my father's restaurant too," she said softly. "I have experience. We could open one together." The old woman's eyes lit up. She loved the idea. Eager to help, the girl offered the only valuable thing she had, her gold necklace, as a contribution to start the business. But the old woman refused. "First, let's find a place," she said. With the help of her friend, they started searching. But it wasn't easy. Every place they found was too expensive. Until one day, by pure coincidence, they discovered a restaurant that was about to relocate. They asked if they could rent it, and this time, luck was finally on their side. The owner agreed. The preparation began. Friends and neighbors came together, helping them clean, decorate, and set everything up. And soon, they opened their restaurant. They called it Grandma's Restaurant. The place quickly became loved by everyone. People talked about it, about the warmth, the feeling, the taste of homemade food that filled every dish. And then, they introduced something new. A creative fusion, mixing Indian and Korean flavors together. People loved it. The restaurant started to grow. Her friend helped promote it through videos and social media, bringing more attention and customers. And every day after work, they would rush back home before the old woman's son returned, keeping their secret safe. Life finally felt stable, happy, peaceful. Wanting to give back, she also tried to help her friend. She suggested something new. "Why don't you gather our friends and form a group? You can make videos together and upload them to YouTube, but target foreigners. People outside Korea love K-pop. They'll support you." The idea excited him. Everyone agreed. And soon they began filming. She enjoyed every moment, laughing, creating, living freely. Then one day, she heard shocking news from her neighbor back home. Mani had been arrested. They told her she should take advantage of it, file a case against him, and destroy him completely. But she refused. She chose to let go of the past, to focus on her new life, her friends, her future in Korea. Everything was going perfectly. Until one day, the old woman's son visited the restaurant. Someone had sent him pictures of the place, telling him that there was a woman there who looked exactly like his mother. The moment he arrived, both of them hid. Later, as he ate, something felt familiar. The taste. It reminded him of his mother's cooking. Suspicion grew stronger, but when he asked, the waitress assured him that someone else had prepared the food. Still uneasy, he left and rushed home to check. At the same time, the two women raced back on their scooter. Thankfully, they arrived before him. That day passed by pure miracle. Later, she went to meet her friends. They were overjoyed. An entertainment company had noticed them and wanted to sign them, but their happiness didn't last long. There was a condition. They had to produce a music video first, and they had no money. Without hesitation, she decided to help. She offered to use her share of the restaurant's profits. She spoke to the old woman, asking for her portion. At first, the old woman refused. "You said you were saving this money for your father," she reminded her. But the girl smiled gently. "I will always think of my father first," she said. "But in this situation, if I keep the money, only I will be happy. But if I give it to my friends, all of us will be happy." The old woman looked at her, then pulled her into a warm embrace. She was convinced. She handed her the money. But suddenly, they heard the sound of the front door. Her son and his wife had just come home. The old woman quickly whispered to her, "Hide the money carefully and leave quietly." She nodded, trying to stay calm. When the son and his wife entered, she greeted them normally, pretending everything was fine. Then she turned to leave. But the wife stopped her. "Wait, bring me some water." As she reached into her bag, the wife suddenly snatched it, searching through it aggressively. "I told you she's a thief!" she shouted. Before she could react, they took the money from her and even threatened to throw her out. But at that moment, the old woman stepped in. "That money is mine," she said firmly. They froze in shock. Her son stared at her, disbelief written all over his face. "So, all this time you were pretending, and now you've even opened a restaurant with her?" "What's wrong with that?" she replied calmly. Then she handed the girl her money back and sent her away. What followed was a heated argument. Her son grew harsh, almost cruel, insisting that she should stay at home, rest, and take care of the children. But she refused. "That's not what I want," she shouted. "I want to work, just like I used to with your father. You grew up and became who you are because of that restaurant." But he wouldn't listen. The pressure, the pain, it became too much. Suddenly, she collapsed. When the girl heard the ambulance arriving, panic consumed her. She rushed after them to the hospital. But there, they wouldn't let her in. Her children refused to allow her to see the old woman, even threatening to call the police if she didn't leave. So she waited, silently, patiently, until they finally left. Then she slipped inside. She broke down in tears beside her, praying, begging for her to be okay. And in that quiet moment, the old woman responded. She gently held her hand. After that, she left. In the taxi, she couldn't stop crying, but eventually, she wiped her tears and pulled herself together. She still had something to do. She went straight to her friends and gave them the money. They were overwhelmed with gratitude. Immediately, they began filming their music video, and she helped them every step of the way. Around that time, Mani tried to contact her again, but she ignored him. Then suddenly, breaking news appeared. A powerful earthquake had struck her village. Without hesitation, she rushed back home. Her heart pounded as she searched for her family, until she finally found them, safe, alive, in the hospital. Relief flooded her. They welcomed her warmly, without blame, without anger. A neighbor then told her something unexpected. Mani had come back. He had even tricked the neighbor into giving him her number. She felt annoyed and refused to answer his calls. But then she learned something else. During the earthquake, Mani had helped her family, personally taking them to the hospital and staying by their side. Still, that didn't change everything. It didn't erase what he had done. Eventually, he found her and apologized face to face. She looked at him calmly and said, "Thank you for everything that happened." He was confused. "Because of you, I became stronger. I changed." But that didn't mean she would go back to him. She walked away. Not long after, she received a video from her friend. In it, she saw a familiar face. The man she had met at the airport. The one who had quietly helped her from the beginning. He revealed the truth, that from the moment he saw her, she had left an impact on him. And jokingly, he said, "Looks like you'll soon be filming vlogs with your Korean husband." She laughed, surprised. And then, suddenly, all her friends appeared behind her. They had come all the way to visit her. Even he was there. Together, they visited her family. They spent time with them, sharing cultures, laughter, and warmth. Her mother looked at her with pride. And her father? He smiled and said, "If you had just returned my money, I would have been happy. But now, I'm much happier. People came all the way from another country, just for you. If you want to travel again, go. I support you. Your mother and I will come visit you too." Her heart filled with joy. And this time, she left with their blessing. Back in Korea, the first place she went to was the old woman's house. But it was empty, for sale. No one was there. With a heavy heart, she went to their restaurant. There, she found a message. A letter. In it, the old woman wrote, "I never saw you as someone who worked for me, nor even as a partner. You were always like a daughter to me. Thank you. for helping me find myself again." As she listened to the recorded message her friend had saved, her eyes filled with tears. She missed her deeply. She asked where she was now, if she could visit her. But the answer broke her heart. She passed away a long time ago. She stood there, silent, grieving. But then she made a decision. She would reopen the restaurant, not just as a business, but as a memory, a legacy, a way to keep the old woman alive, and that is how the story ends. A story about dreams, loss, love, and finding yourself. A story that reminds us of something important. Sometimes we put too much pressure on our parents, especially when they grow older. We expect them to keep sacrificing, to keep giving, just because they are our parents. But we forget they are human too. They have dreams, they have desires, and they deserve to live their own lives, just like we do.